Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and it's my favourite time of the week. Once again, it's time for my wrestlers of the week. And what a week it's been. Yes, I say that every week, but this time it's actually honest, because we've had NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4, which was excellent. We've had SummerSlam, which was half of the audience seemed to think it was excellent and half seemed to think it was okay, but I think everyone can agree that it was pretty damn eventful. We've also had some indie goings on as well, but for those of you who get annoyed with my constant New Japan point signage, we'll be relieved to know that now that the G1's over, actually, New Japan have suffered a bit of a dip in form. There hasn't been too much going on in the world of New Japan. So let's take a look at all of my wrestlers of the week. First off, some honourable mentions. I think we need to give a shout out to AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, who had a wonderful match on the SummerSlam card, and even though it ended in a DQ, I do think that was the right decision. I also think that on any other week when it was like maybe a slightly less impressive week, we would have seen both guys in the top 10. The same can be said for Shayna Baszler too, who had a great NXT women's title defense, which she lost at TakeOver Brooklyn 4. And I want to give a shout out to the women over in Stardom who've been doing the 5-star GP, their version of the G1 Climax this week. And the one that I've been most impressed with, actually, I'm not too familiar with a lot of the women there, apart from, like, I guess kind of the English ones or the American ones, the Western ones who are in it. Even though I'm not too familiar with a lot of the actual stars of Stardom, I am very impressed with Kagetsu, who I believe is their big champion at the moment, and won a match, lost a match, and in both instances looked very impressive. But that's all the honourable mentions out of the way. Let's crack on with my top 10. Number 10 goes to the most controversial superstar of the week, Becky Lynch. And I mean controversial in the sense that she's been booked a bit strangely. Becky got the biggest pop of SummerSlam weekend easily when she turned on Charlotte Flair after their match. They hugged it out because Charlotte won the SmackDown Women's Championship, and then Becky went, "No, you've taken too many opportunities from me, Charlotte." Then she beat her down, and the crowd were so behind Becky, it was amazing. And then she came out on SmackDown and cut just a straightforward heel promo, and she delivered it really well. This isn't an issue with Becky's mic skills at all. She was fantastic. It's more an issue with I guess the decision to have her book a heel promo. She was standing there saying, "None of you ever had my back, none of you have my back now," while an arena of people literally were going, "Becky, Becky," and it was just a bit forced, wasn't it? It was just a little bit forced. But on the whole, Becky's performance in the match was excellent, so was Charlotte and Carmella, but Becky especially was excellent, getting the crowd behind her, firing up all the time. Her beatdown was excellent, there was so much emotion in it, and her promo was great on SmackDown too, even though the reasons behind it were a little bit suspect. So well done, Becky Lynch. Number 10 this week, and you get 1 point. Number 9 this week is a man who was in the excellent opening tag match at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4, Tyler Bate, who a lot of people said was the star of the match in the aftermath. This sounds a little bit unfair. I don't think he was, but that doesn't mean that I don't think he was absolutely excellent in the match. Of course he was. He is frighteningly good, especially at his young age. He had a lot of really cool spots. He did the whole double, like the spin, the big swing thing with the other guy on his back and that sort of thing. He's like an ant. He can lift so many times his own body weight. And also, he did his classic sort of shoulders into the rope, turn around, big lariat, but he did it on the outside where he jumped into the bottom rope above the apron, turned around and leathered one of the Undisputed Era. It was a thrilling performance from Tyler Bate, but I think that a couple of guys in that match were a little bit better. Who, you ask? Here's who. Ooh, that didn't work at all. Next up, another man in that tag match, Kyle O'Reilly, who bumped and sold like a bloody madman. He was excellent in this match. I think watching this match, it felt like about 70% of the time we were just watching Trent Seven slap the piss out of Kyle O'Reilly. But Kyle was excellent both on offense and on defense. He sold and bumped, as I've said, but also dished out some of his lethal martial arts kicks and that sort of thing. He was excellent, and I think one of the most underrated guys in the world right now, although it seems to be the sort of case where people are slowly realising and slowly getting behind Kyle O'Reilly. And I think if the Undisputed Era were to ever break up, he could well be, alongside Adam Cole of course, the big breakout star. Number 7, quite fittingly, is Trent Seven, the third guy in that big tag team match, who I think was actually the star of the match. I know a lot of people were very impressed with Tyler Bate, as was I, but I was more impressed with Big Trenty Sevs. Mr. Seven, I think, is one of the best baby faces in all of NXT. He is wonderful. Even though he's in a tag team, I think that he really gets across enough on his own, even enough babyface emotion and fire, especially with that towel spot where he was going to throw the towel in to protect Tyler Bate, but then went, "No, I reckon you can get out of this submission." Threw the towel into the crowd. It was a wonderful moment, got the tag, and then ran wild. It was awesome. It was a great performance throughout the match from start to finish, and you may have noticed that because Tyler, Kyle, and Trent are all in this, and I've said that's the last of the guys in the tag match, that Roderick Strong hasn't been mentioned. Sorry, Roddy. I thought he was wonderful as well. Just, it was a bit too busy a week and I couldn't really fit him in. But I guess that's what you get if you're the heel of this list, Roderick Strong. trying to sneak your way in with a little few points here and there on weeks when not much has gone on. I see your game, Roddy, and this is payback. In all seriousness, I genuinely didn't have him in. I'm not compromising the list in any sort of way, but it felt a little bit good though as well, Roddy, you snake. Number 6, a man who's appeared on a lot of these lists so far, all throughout the year. No, not Will Ospreay, and not Zack Sabre Jr., but Big Daddy Walter. Walter had 2 of the best matches available on demand this week. He had a wonderful match with Ishii in Rev Pro, which I thought he was going to win. It was a number 1 contenders match for a shot against Minoru Suzuki, who's currently the champion of Rev Pro. And I thought because Ishii was the last champion, that he would step aside and Walter would step into his place and we'd have a massive Suzuki versus Walter match. I was a little bit disappointed to see Walter actually lose the match, but it was still a wonderful match. And you know what? Who can complain about getting Ishii versus Suzuki yet again? Certainly not me, because they're 2 very scary men. And when they're scary together, at each other, it's quite compelling. That wasn't Walter's only good work this week. He also had a really good match in OTT against Jordan Devlin and beat him to become the new champion of OTT. So well done, Walter, the new King of Ireland. Yes, that works. Yes. Number 5, the new NXT Women's Champion Kyrie Sin, who had an excellent women's match. One of the best NXT Women's title matches I can remember, I think, certainly since the days of, I was going to say since the days of Asuka, but I think even compared to the best matches of Asuka's reign, this was well up there as well. I was very impressed with both Shayna and especially Kyrie Sin as well. Kyrie's elbow drop obviously is a thing of beauty, but I really enjoyed the finish too when Shayna Baszler caught her in that chokehold and Kyrie Sin nimbly rolled through, landed sort of on her feet and pinned her to win the title. It was a great match, great pop, great babyface moment, and I was surprised as well because I thought Shayna would retain and Kyrie Sin would move on potentially to the main roster, but no, it's Kyrie time. It's Kyrie time. Does that work? Yes. Number 4, now, every single time that Gargano and Champa have main evented a takeover, they have landed, in some order, in the 1 and 2 spots of this list, but not this time because something else impressed me a little bit more, which we'll find out a little bit later on. But number 4, because it was still an excellent match, is Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa won the match and was horribly evil, of course, and retained his NXT championship. The match was a bit of a tricky one because obviously it was planned to be a triple threat featuring Aleister Black until he got injured, which they explained with a mystery jumping in the parking lot. We don't know who it is yet. It could be Jonny Gargano embracing the dark side, trying to get a clear path to Ciampa. Could have been Ciampa himself trying to get a one-on-one with Gargano. Could have been someone entirely unrelated. Back to this match, Ciampa was wonderful as per usual. The best heel in the business, I think, right now. Yeah, the best heel in the business. And he picked up the win in lucky fashion. He was obviously handcuffed to the production area. Gargano was blasting in with super kick after super kick. It looked like a Young Bucks match. And then Gargano ran, missed the knee. Well, he hit the knee, I think, actually. Tumbled off the stage, dislocated his knee, and Ciampa flopped down like a little fish onto his feet and picked up the victory. Number 3, his opponent, Jonny Gargano. Really, Jonny Gargano has been wonderful on this list. I've really enjoyed watching him because he doesn't have that many matches in terms of compared to some of the other guys like in New Japan or on the Indies, but when he does have a match, he consistently racks up the points because he is wonderful. For a while I was going to say he was the best babyface in the business. Now he's like the best tweener in the business because he really sells the emotion of the darkness that Ciampa's made him embrace, and this match was full of that sort of thing. I like that Gargano lost the match as well because of his own inability to just let Ciampa lose. He had to continue to punish him, and in the end, it actually was his downfall. It's the most compelling story in wrestling right now, the most compelling feud, and I absolutely loved it. Well done, Gargano. Well done, Ciampa as well, but I've given Gargano the slight edge because there was more emotion, more complex emotion from Mr. Wrestling. Number 2, the new NXT North American Champion Ricochet. What a match this was. My favourite match of the week, Ricochet versus Adam Cole for the North American title. And you know what, I've worked behind the scenes at a promotion before where Ricochet was putting on an excellent match every time we had him over in the UK, and I never tired of watching him. Every single one of his matches was wonderful, but in a slightly different way as well. Yes, he's got a sort of similar moveset in every match, a bit like Rob Van Dam, but he's a lot smoother. He packs the emotion in. He really knows his wrestling psychology despite being a big flippy showy guy. I would never accuse him of being a spot monkey, and I think that it was just an awesome example of what he can do, especially because we recently saw that match against the Velveteen Dream, which was a bit more of a slower paced match about two guys trying to outdo each other, whereas this match was a more just fast paced, going at each other, just trying to win the title. And that's exactly what Ricochet did with a big 630 from the top rope, which I was calling in my video after NXT a double 450, which would have been quite something, but we'll let him get away with just a 630 instead. And I need to brush up on my knowledge of aerial moves, it turns out. And number 1, and my wrestler of the week. way, I'm not as cool when I do it, it's Adam Cole. Yes, I know that Adam Cole lost the match and lost the NXT North American Championship, the belt that he was the first man ever to hold as well. But at the same time, I think he's now in a very interesting position. A more interesting position than even Ricochet, who now has the belt and will obviously be taking on all comers and that sort of thing. But I think Adam Cole now, without the title, assuming that he doesn't win it straight back from Ricochet, is in a very interesting position. He's a little bit like Edge for me, a little bit like the Edge of NXT in terms of, because of his gimmick, because he is such a sneaky, manipulative man and kind of worms his way into situations where he maybe doesn't belong. You never know where he's going to crop up. Will it be in this title match? Will it be in this feud? Will it be on the main roster even? Could we see Adam Cole depart to the main roster? I would certainly be in favour of it as long as they kept him looking good. Don't go the way of... Who's not done? Bailey. Don't go the way of Bailey because she deserves so much more. As for the match itself, Adam Cole was on absolutely top form, and as great as Ricochet is and one of the best wrestlers in the world and everything, I think we also need to recognise that Adam Cole is not only one of the most over and charismatic men in wrestling, but in the ring as well is tremendously skilled too. That counter, I had to mention it, that counter from the big moonsault or lion saw, I guess, that Ricochet did off the ropes into a super kick, perfectly placed, perfectly timed, just showed exactly what Adam Cole can do. It was amazing. Also, the great thing about Adam Cole is I've seen him be accused of, even though he's a heel, he's obviously very over, maybe the most over man in NXT right now. And a lot of people have said, doesn't that steal the spotlight away from the baby faces? And I think this match is perfect evidence that it doesn't, because when Adam Cole loses, because he's been so smarmy and so detestable in the build-up to it, when he loses, the other guy looks like a megastar. Not that Ricochet needed to look like any more of a megastar, but he did anyway. And I think that Adam Cole is truly one of WWE's best assets right now. Not only is the leader of a stable, not only in terms of match quality, but just as a general package. He is awesome, and I'm delighted for him to be it's his first time as well, to be a first-time Wrestler of the Week. Baby, I can't do it. It's weird when I do it. It's weird. So without any further ado, let's take a look at that lovely league table. As we can see, Will Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr. are still at the top, but guess who's pushing the front runners right now? It's Jonny Gargano, one of the most interesting men in the wrestling world today. Walter's also continuing his very steady progress. And as we go a little bit further down, as I stall slightly, we see that Ricochet has leapt up into contention as well, well into the top 25 now. He was always kind of clinging on to the periphery, but now he's well in contention. So is Adam Cole after that massive 10 points. And it looks like that's pretty much it. So that's it for this week on Wrestlers of the Week. Thank you very much for watching. My name has been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me on Twitter at JackTheJobber if you wish. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic and check out our Patreon as well, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, to hit subscribe and to join us.